Ew, gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in one wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
I need new music.
This is the JJO Discover New Music Podcast.
I've known this guy and his brother for entirely too long. And I always tell people, whenever I do these interviews, while I'm doing my prep, I listen to the artist. So it kind of puts me in that spot. And man, Dameon, I went back to 2008, Still in the Dark, Aranda. Like debut big album that came out and what got me hooked all those years ago. And now here we are. Let's see, that was 15
years.
15 years. 15 years, man. I've known you guys for 15 years. Is that, well, first of all, I apologize for having to deal with me for 15 years. Second of all,
of course, it's kind of surreal. I mean, you know, I remember when we first heard our first song on the radio, it was Still in the Dark. And I can remember when we would head up, and JJO was one of the biggest supporters right off the bat, you know, and we were up there, but you were up there, and it just seemed like we'd hit it off we had hit it off really well. But then when you came up and sang Brown Eyed Girl with us, I think that was probably one of the highlights of 08.
Oh my God. Was that New Year's Eve? I think that was. Oh,
yeah, I think it was.
God almighty.
But it's weird that you talk about, 15 years ago, because the label that put out that record contacted us a couple months ago about we're putting out a 15th anniversary for all the digital platforms, a super deluxe. So it's just going to have like so many like unheard cuts from back in the day, basically. But also too, they're releasing a double vinyl of basically the whole album plus all those songs on there live. Man, we're sitting there and we're discussing it and going through it. And I was like, damn, I'm getting older. So because because that's kind of a milestone. It's a 15-year anniversary deluxe edition. Like I couldn't wrap my head around that. I was like, man, we've been around long enough to now we're doing deluxe anniversary editions, So which is funny. I'm like, man, and then you have albums right after that. So those anniversaries are coming up too. We had Stop the World after that, and then Not the Same, and those records. And so it's just wild. We've been around a long time, man.
If you were to look back, see where we're at now and where you were, is there something that really stands out with the band or something that really you kind of hang your hat on with this?
Man, I think overall with the scene that we ended up getting into, because when we recorded the Aranda record, we just did what we did. We weren't trying to think about like, let's fit into this genre or let's fit into this box or let's fit into whatever. Man, especially that record, we were just really like, man, this is just music we love. Yeah. And this is just music that we love to do. So from that standpoint, I always will cherish that record in particular, because there was no record company per se saying you have to do this, or can you at least give us a little bit of this, or whatever it may be. As we continued our journey, and man, like you said, lots of ups and downs. Probably our most successful record was the one right after that, which was Stop the World, which had just really a lot of radio success with that record. Which was amazing. But man, once we, got to Not the Same and we had a couple more radio hits from that record, man, we almost just completely called it quits after that, because we had just gotten to a place where, man, there was so much around this thing where, here's the thing, I give kudos to all the bands out there that go out there relentlessly and work their freaking tails off just to really make ends meet. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes you get to a point, especially when you bring kids and family and stuff into the picture, where you have to start making some hard decisions. You know what I mean? And the one after Not the Same for us was, man, we need to slow this boat down a little bit, and we need to spend some time with our families. And man, we had gotten to a point in late 2018 where we had gotten recharged and we were ready to go back out. and just hit this thing really hard. We just started getting hit with tragedy after tragedy. Our producer that produced Not the Same, he passed away. His name's Kato Kandwala, and he passed away in a motorcycle accident. We had such a blast recording that record, and we had planned to do some more things together, and just hearing that news, that was pretty crushing. And then our sound guy, that we had just been on the road with us for he started with us in 2009, and then late 18, man, he passed away, had a heart attack, passed away. He was 49 years old, so for us was very unexpected and just kind of rocked us. And man, then you get to the beginning of 2019 and we're like, okay, our drummer, Mike, he came over to the studio and we had this plan. We were like, okay, we're recording this record. Everybody was really starting to get back in good spirits and we were ready to do this. Well, a month later, we're in the studio. I kid you not, man. We are in the studio. Me and my brother hadn't been together for probably about 3 weeks at the time. Yeah. We both come over to the studio and we get a call saying that my dad just suddenly passed. And our dad lives in the same city with us. So we rushed over to my grandma's where he was at. And dude, it was just crushing. You know? At that point, we knew we were going to kind of push pause on everything. And we had gotten everything for my dad together. We had done a beautiful service and it was amazing. And then Mike had called me, our drummer, and he was like, man, he wasn't able to make my dad's funeral. And he was just like, man, I am so sorry I didn't make it. He's like, man, let's, catch some dinner next week and figure some stuff out. Well, that next weekend, him and his wife passed away. And at that point, man, we just had kind of gone, what the heck we again pushed pause again. And
understandably, after tragedy, how do you go into the studio? How do you do anything other than just kind of, I don't know, sit and wonder what is happening?
Well, it definitely got to a point where we stopped. And then we didn't think about really anything. I think like 4 or 5 months later, we did one gig. We did one gig. And it was one actually that we had just promised that we had for like 6 months what we were going to go do. So we were like, man, Mike would want us to go do this. Let's go do this. But man, for the rest of that year, man, we were MIA again. You know what I mean? And at that point it was like, man, are we going to do this again? And the only thing that we had really going for us at that point was the connection piece. I think that music has with everybody, which is you connect with people so much through brokenness.
Yes.
And through those things. And so your heart's kind of connect in that way. Like a lot of our fans, just even with some of the songs that we've done throughout the years, like Still in the Dark or like Satisfied or something like that.
Yep.
Man, I just remember all the time when people would come up and we'd go, oh my gosh, that's your story too, or it's very similar, or this hit me this way. And so we still had a lot of that. And man, with all this grief and all this stuff going on, man, there was just so much in us still. Yeah. There was so much in us still. So fast forward to early 2020. And again, we're like, okay, let's, it'd been about 8-9 months. We were like, okay, we're going to go back, get back in the saddle again. We're going to do this thing. Yeah. Well, then COVID hits. I mean, literally like 2 weeks, into that. But the one thing that we didn't let that do was stop us, because we were just like, you know what, as we were basically experiencing all this grief still, now the world was experiencing all this grief just through, I mean, all the stuff that was happening with COVID and the way that it was affecting people and the way, just overall, some of it was actually even just dividing us and all those things. And so, man, there was still so much to talk about, so much to connect with, so much. So, man, we just put our heads down and started writing. And then finally we were like, one of my good friends that is a producer, he lives in the city. And I was like, you know what? We're doing this album. You're going to do it with us.
Come hell or high water, we're getting her done. That's what it is.
Exactly. If I have to, put on 6 masks to go over and do this, fine. Whatever it takes, Yeah. So we started going over there and piecing this thing together. The name of the record is Recollections of a Painted Year. Yeah. And one of the first songs we said we had to finish was the one that we started with Mike. And that was the one called Pay For. And it was kind of funny because that song was birthed out of really, it's Pay For. And then for a while we had named it Pay For parentheses the Underdog, because it really had, I had kind of spearheaded some of this, I guess, overall thought process of, in 2015, I lost my voice completely. Like it went, and there was a lot of things that contributed to that. But I remember I had a guy that was like, man, you guys aren't going to do that. It looks like you guys are done. You're not going to be able to sing again. I heard that. And I started literally thinking, okay, you kind of put yourself in that position. It's like a pretty decent basketball team that's going up against the best basketball team. And somehow they're the underdog. And they got this in the head that everybody is against us.
Yeah. Yep.
For some reason that fuels you to kind of achieve and do better than you would normally do with maybe no motive, And so, man, that kind of became my personal mantra, and I kind of painted it out where, hey, I got one more shot at this. I'm the underdog, a la Eminem a little bit. And then you only got one shot.
One shot, that's it.
You know what I mean? And then, man, it's just like, man, basically that everybody's going to eat their words for doubting us. And that was kind of the thought process behind it.
Madison Solid Rock 94.1 JJO and JJO Discover New Music. Our guest this week is Dameon Aranda, talking to us about the new release, Recollections of a Painted Year. What is it like having a guy like Vernon Reid to now contribute to a song, and something that took such a journey to get to, and now this retribution, this rising from the ashes almost, and now having Vernon Reid on there? That's awesome,
dude. Vernon Reid, I mean, when I was a young tyke, I would say 12, 13, the way that I learned guitar was we would go down the street and grab the Guitar World magazine, and it would have, the 4 or 5 biggest songs tabbed out. What I mean?
Yep. Oh yeah, I remember.
Oh, dude. So, man, you've heard the Cult of Personality guitar solo from Vernon, and it's just all over the place, and it's just wild. Like when you look at the tab, it looks just like a foreign language. You know what I mean? You're just like, oh, okay, yeah.
My fingers don't do that. I don't think that's possible.
No, but the first 2 Living Color records were so influential for Gabe and I. I mean, seriously, literally, when Gabe was a teenager, I mean, literally everybody was like, man, are you trying to be Corey Glover? Are you trying to be that guy? Because Gabe would sing, but he would sing with soul, and he would sing with runs, and he would put maybe more of an R&B flair on rock music, which I always thought was so cool. You know what I mean? And kind of, again, gave even what we were doing then a little bit of a different sound. You got all these periods, but Living Color was the epitome of that.
Yeah.
So long story short, when he said yes to doing that, because we just asked him, we were just like, dude, would you even possibly think of that?
Yeah.
I think of doing that. And, it was right during middle of COVID. So, we were flying files back and forth. He was just because we couldn't meet in person. But when we got those back and we put them in the session, I was just like,
oh my God.
It's like the best, Aranda guitar solo is not played by me. and I'm completely okay with it.
Yeah. Is that like Vernon Reid? Do you give notes to him? Like whatever he sends back, you're like, all right, that's perfect. That's good. I don't care what it is. We're done.
He gave us probably like 5 or 6 passes.
Yeah.
So we probably did splice together a couple of like the best things. But once he sent them, we didn't bother him anymore. We were like, great job. We'll let you know when it's done.
Thank you. That's right. You. Yes. Thank you, sir. Why is it always so important for you guys to put that little Aranda twist? I mean, I know it's your music, but that thing that you, even going back to, the early days and putting a little R&B in your stuff, that Aranda flavor in there.
I guess it's good and bad sometimes for us career wise, but for us, I mean, it comes back to the love of the craft, the love of trying to figure out how can you make this a little bit different? Does this feel, basically not settling, but man, harmony has always been a big thing in our music. You know what I mean? We love to layer. We love to do those things. We love, bands like the Doobie Brothers, bands like Queen, people that use that. It was rock, but man, you had to be able to really sing and really understand harmony to pull that stuff off. And so, man, we get excited when, it's like, oh man, we're going to do more than 3 parts on this song. Okay. It's like, oh, let's figure that out, we're doing a flat 6 in this. Oh, okay, cool.
And that actually does kind of lead me to my last thing before we get to the final wrap up is you and Gabe have literally, again, when I say since you and Huggies, with the musical upbringing that you had with your folks and everything, and that tutelage and growing in the musical world and now making a career out of it. Is it a blessing or a curse? Maybe both, knowing each other so well musically, personally, when it comes to putting that record together, to putting that music together?
Man, I guess as the years have gone by a little bit more, I would definitely say that it's a positive, because, man, we've really learned and know each other so well now. We know each other's strengths. We know each other's weaknesses. And we just really kind of understand. It's really weird. It's like we can finish each other's sentences 95% of the time.
Yeah.
And when you have that kind of bond, and we've pretty much been together through everything that we've both experienced in our lives. You know what I mean? I can't think of another human being on the planet I've experienced more ups with and more downs with than my brother, And so that translates, man, to the trust in the music too. So when we get together, we do write and we do these things, man, we just trust, man, and trust each other's strengths and honestly just rely on that stuff. And it just makes the team dynamic so special, because it really felt like we weren't fighting this time. We weren't fighting each other on anything on this record.
I'm getting the countdown timer. You and I have obviously chatted like we always do. We just go and go and go. I love it. You're my first interview of the year. So it's going to.
Oh, really?
It's only going to go down from here. That's it. You set the bar way up here. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for chatting music. Before we go, let's have even more fun. It's time for rapid fire. No wrong answers. You just go with what your gut says, what Dameon feels. So here we go.
I can't think about it too much either, right?
No, don't get in your head. That's the problem. That's the problem. All right, let's start off simple. Waffles or pancakes?
Pancakes.
Pancakes. You're more of a Southern guy, so I'm surprised on that. You guys like your Waffle Houses and stuff over there.
We do, but pancakes, I feel like you can do more with them.
All right, I'll know what to make you. That's good.
Yeah.
More guitar, drums, or vocals in the monitor?
Vocals for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a guitarist question. You probably appreciate this. Steve Vai or Joe Satriani? I know it's a tough one. Because you probably love them both. I
love them so much, and they were so influential, both of them, by a hair. Steve Vai.
By a hair. I like it. I knew that one was going to be tough for you. Would you rather have damp socks or soaked pants?
Soaked pants.
Soaked pants. See, damp socks suck, right? You just ate.
It's the worst. I can't function.
Yeah. Take them off. Vanilla or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Would you rather see Bigfoot or El Chupacabra?
Bigfoot, probably.
So now, serious question here. Have you felt like you've been close to seeing Bigfoot in maybe your travels? I know Oklahoma boy. I'm sure there's some Bigfoot nut bars out there too.
No, I feel like I've never
come close.
Been close. No, but we have hit a few deer.
Yeah.
They were probably as big as Bigfoot.
Yeah, there you go. Worked through a few of those. Maybe it was Bigfoot and he ran away. Who knows? Last one for you. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
One horse-sized duck.
Really? You're ballsy, man.
Yeah, I just want to. I know my target. I know what I got to do. 100's just too much to think about.
Yeah, they just getting at your ankles and stuff.
Yeah. That's kind of that's a little on the creepy side. It's like they can run your legs and do all sorts of weird stuff.
Little horse hooves flicking you in the ankle.
Exactly.
Right? Get at it.
Other places too. Yeah,
I like it. Well, I would have taken the little horsies, but you're a brave man. I like that. That's a big duck. All right. Well, thank you for humoring me as always. I appreciate it, brother. And more.
Those were amazing. I was not expecting those questions. So
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Like I like to keep them keep you guessing. I don't want you to get comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, again, everyone, 2023 off to a great start with new Aranda and more to come. And Dameon, I love you, brother. And
Love you too, man.
I can't wait to see you guys next time. Everyone can't wait to see you. And just look for more. And I appreciate the time as always, man.
Man, thank you, Brock. Appreciate you.
Listen, rate, share, subscribe. Discover new music now at WJJO.com, in the JJO app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Brock has a new interview every Thursday evening between 6 and 7. 94.1 JJO.